absorbing its energy?
Monster Hunter is a franchise that up until the recent open beta of this new game, I had never played before. In fact, everything I saw about the Monster Hunter games looked like they wouldn't really appeal to me at all. But that was before I had this YouTube channel. That was before I took it upon myself to play as many games as I possibly could and to do so optimistically. And that's what I've been doing with Monster Hunter Wilds. This is going to be a review from the perspective of a brand new player to this massive monster-sized franchise. Like I mentioned though, I did check out the beta a couple weeks ago. You can go check that video out if you want to hear my initial reaction thoughts. But anyway, the game is out now fully and I've been playing it for the better part of the day, which means I have some thoughts that I want to share with you. So I'm going to get into the review. I'm going to show you guys some raw gameplay, but before I do that, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, if you're new here. I talk about video games all the time on this channel. I do day one reviews just like this. I do other video game discussions. I just love sharing my passion of video games, and I hope you guys join me. But enough with this introduction. Let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. So first off, this is a first impressions review. I have been playing the game for hours now, but still I've barely scratched the surface for a couple reasons. The first being this is a big game with a lot of shit to do, and two is that I suck at it. I said this in my beta review, but it remains the case. As of right now, I am absolutely trash at this game, and it's taking me a minute to get my footing. This game is pretty complicated, with a steep learning curve, especially for a new player to the franchise like myself. So with that being said, consider this first impressions review to serve two purposes. One, if you are a potential brand new player to the franchise like myself, you'll be able to hear the thoughts and opinions of someone who, again, is also a brand new player. There'll be no comparing and no contrasting to past Monster Hunter titles in this review. And two, if you are a veteran to this franchise, you can just hear a noob's opinion while simultaneously watching him suck ass at the game, and maybe that'll be entertaining on its own merits. And also, this video will be spoiler free. I'll talk about the story, but not in any detail, and also all of the gameplay that you're seeing is from very early on. But anyway, for those of you that are new, what exactly is Monster Hunter Wilds? It's a game where you hunt monsters. That's right. I don't know if there's ever been a more fitting title for a video game. What you see is absolutely what you get. There's no misleading marketing here, but there is a story here as well, which surprised me, but I haven't experienced too much of it as of yet. But without getting, again, into spoilers, I can tell you it's not really doing much for me. The characters don't seem to be that compelling, and the story being told so far doesn't interest me, but I do appreciate that it's here. I like when there's a narrative through line. I don't like feeling like I'm doing stuff in a game for no reason at all, but I do have a feeling, based on the way the story is going already, that aforementioned narrative through line is going to take more and more of a backseat as the game progresses. I don't think the story was necessarily the creative focus of this game, but in full transparency, I'm rarely a fan of this kind of story. I'm not really ever a fan of these kinds of characters. I don't really know how to describe them without sounding insulting, but it's just not my vibe. This style of voice acting, these character designs, it's just a hard sell for me. It always has been, and it remains to be the same here, but I know it is 100% the vibe for a lot of other people. Trust me, I know that. So you might like it a lot more than I do, especially if you're already a fan of games like this with characters that talk and act like this. But story and characters aside, this is mostly a gameplay and systems focused game. You gotta like the gameplay if you're gonna buy this $70 ticket, because it's definitely the main course of this whole package. And luckily for me, I do like the gameplay more in theory than in actuality though, because I'm still very much in the learning process. But anyway, most of the time you'll be hunting monsters, obviously, and some hunts can be quicker and others can be a lot longer. It can take a lot of time and a lot of effort to take some of these monsters down. There's already been a good handful of times that I had to abandon a hunt because I knew I just wasn't skilled enough, but in turn that makes it extra ultra rewarding when you do finally slay a beast. This game definitely has a strong sense of reward, and it's what's been keeping my interest the most, if I'm being honest, that desire to get good. But when it comes to fighting the monsters, there's a variety of different weapons, and the ones that I've used all feel distinctly different and have their own advantages and disadvantages. And again, I haven't tested them all out, but the ones I did are all fun in their own way. Your choice of weapon does actually force you to change your gameplay approach for the most part. Some weapons are just absolutely massive powerhouses, and they can easily land more powerful hits, while others are a bit weaker and therefore harder to dominate with, but in turn, it forces you to be a bit more strategic. You can maybe move a little bit quicker, and it opens you up to utilize a lot of the other gadgets and doohickeys that are at your disposal. And when you defeat the monsters, they often drop resources that you need to craft cooler and better stuff, and that right there is the gist of what you'll be spending most of the time doing. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I know this is a first impressions review, but so far, despite all of the positive stuff I just said, I'm still under the impression that I don't think that Monster Hunter is gonna be a franchise for me. I'm invested enough to keep going, I like playing it enough to dive deeper in, and I do want to get good, but the core concept of this game and the main gameplay loop, I don't think it's gonna click with me like I thought it would. I know in my beta review I ended things on a more hopeful note, but now that I'm back again, I feel like the magic, the allure is already beginning to wear a bit thin, and that is worrisome for me, but I'm still remaining optimistic though, and I'm gonna spend all of my free time this week diving even deeper into the game. I'm gonna allow the hooks to dig themselves into me as much as they're able to, so expect a much longer full review from me soon, by the way, after I've spent a full week or so caked in monster blood, snorting the dust of their bones. Then, and only then, will I be able to truly tell you if I'm a fan of this game or not on a personal level. But don't get me wrong, despite what I just said, I can tell this is a good game. I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend my opinion is fact, or that you're gonna feel the same way I do. The core gameplay, that addictive loop, I can still see why people love this franchise. And like I said in my beta review, I'm gonna say again here because it's still true. I want to get good. I want to play more. I want to be a fan of this franchise. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I've already been converted into a fan. But anyway, let me rapid fire some more pros and some more cons.
Throw it now.
Okay, pros. The monsters look badass, they act distinct, and it doesn't feel like you're fighting the same monster over and over and over again. The character creator is pretty damn good. In terms of face customization, it's one of the best I've seen in a game. Again, weapons feel great, they feel different from each other, and they're all fun to use in their own way. Some require more skill than others, so based on what you choose, you can kind of make the game easier or harder for yourself. But now it's time to get into some of the cons. My biggest critique with the game that's not based on personal opinion is that there's a noticeable amount of jank. Sometimes your movements can feel a little clunky, which can be a little stressful, especially when you're in the midst of a battle. And I don't really like how your mount works in this game. It essentially auto moves to your desired location, but something about that just doesn't feel right to me. And even when you take control for yourself, it feels like you're on rails. And I don't know why, but sometimes it feels like your mount will just fuck off and take the scenic route with no logical reason behind it. And the controls. The controls are crazy as hell. Again, I said this in my beta review, but again, it still remains true here. Like a lot of other aspects of this game, the controls have a steep learning curve as well. They're pretty awkward, honestly. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm pretty mixed on this game at the moment. I can see why so many people love this franchise, and I can see why a lot of people might really, really love this game. I see why the core gameplay loop is addictive, and rewarding to so many people. And again, this is a huge franchise for a reason. If you're considering being a new player like myself, you may enjoy the hell out of this game. But for me personally, again, I don't think it's going to be for me, but I'm still going to buckle in and give it my all for the next week or so. But anyway, that's my quick and brief thoughts, my first impressions after spending most of the day with Monster Hunter Wilds. But now I want to know your thoughts. Have you played the game yet? If you have, let me know what you're thinking about it in the comments down below. And if you have not, let me know. Do you plan to? Is it a game you're going to get to eventually? Or is it a game you're going to skip altogether? Once again, look forward to my full review because I'm very, very curious how it's going to go myself. Because still, I'm on the cusp of becoming a fan or falling off completely. Once again, consider subscribing if you haven't already. And thank you for watching, especially if you watched this far.
It's targeting you. Be careful.